What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Now, yesterday we did have a new member on YouTube. We had Maruko Uga. I hope I did pronounce your name right, and I do apologize if I got it wrong. You guys do test me. Thank you so much for your support and for everyone for taking the time out of your days to be here. It's absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. Keep being awesome. I wish you a great day ahead of you, and let's get on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from Correct Skin. Am I the arsehole for saying I won't come to my child's birth? My girlfriend has severe anxiety about everything, but mainly social situations. She's also currently 7 months pregnant with our second child. When she was around 4 months pregnant, she started talking about how she wanted to give birth at home and how much less stressful that environment would be. She claims that all of the nurses at the hospital are rude and give her panic attacks. She also pointed out that since because of COVID, both her mum and I could be in the room rather than just one of us. I could tell when she was talking about it that she put a lot of thought into it and was excited about it. It's her choice. Ultimately, I have no say since I can't force her to go to hospital. I told her while it's up to her, if she chooses to give birth in our bathtub, I simply cannot support her decision. I told her that I will not be present. Literally anything could go wrong and I don't want to be a witness to it. Her mum thinks she's being silly as well, but is going to be present. My girlfriend is very angry with me and is being really quiet. She says that I should just support her, but I'm not going to blindly support her awful decisions. Am I the arsehole here? Now, before looking at the comments, I'm going to have to ask a question because I don't know too much about this, and I don't know if this is a normal thing to do. Do people often give birth at home without professional help? And I know it happens sometimes because obviously some people just don't get the time to go to the hospital and don't get professional help, and they call an ambulance and, you know, they give birth before the baby turns up. Or what? Some cultures that don't have professional assistance at all. And I know that happens, but in my mind, I just see it as an unnecessary risk. When you could go to hospital, when you have the choice to go to hospital, you have the choice to have that medical support to bring your child into the world, which is already a scary time in itself. I think having that professional help would reassure me. So I kind of put this as like a needlessly dangerous decision. So for that reason, the wife does suck for not just talking about it, and I totally understand anxiety is a big thing as well. But I think the birth of your child just far outweighs everything in the situation, and to be as safe as possible in that moment is the priority. I think you just need to have a trained midwife in the situation, and I think that's all there is to it. I think you need to have that discussion with her. No matter how much she backs down, you just really need to try and get that to happen, I think. But as I said, I'm clueless on the situation, so I'm sure the comments are gonna put me right here. So here we go, with Embarrassed Strain saying, everyone sucks here. OP has stated that girlfriend plans on having zero professional help for this birth and only family members will be present. OP, you need to be there and you need to hire a midwife or nurse that knows what they're doing for this home birth. It would be incredibly irresponsible for you not to do these things. Your girlfriend is being unreasonable by not wanting professional assistance with this birth. However, it's her choice whether to do it at home or at hospital. You can't force her hand there. And Crazy Fan Geek says, I really wanted to say everyone sucks here, but I can't. As a mother of 3, you are not the arsehole. This is her second baby. She should know plans go astray when kids are involved. And pregnancy can seem risk-free but can change in a heartbeat. She is being irresponsible with her and a child's life. To all those who said, you're the arsehole, guys, have you ever thought about what would happen if there were serious complications and their firstborn sees it? Childbirth is natural, but a lot of bloody women and babies still die in childbirth, and this woman doesn't want any medical help. You need to contact her midwife. She needs counselling ASAP. She needs help. Chin up. Hopefully things will get better. And Men Aren't Throwaway says, not the arsehole, will there be a medical presence at your house? There's a reason people give birth in hospitals. It's not for the food, it's for the highly trained medical staff. Even if you have home births, you often still have a medical professional in the room. This is a much bigger conversation than a simple binary who's the arsehole. No matter where she gives birth, you need a fully formed and medically sound plan to do it. And Ramblin' Man UK says, not the arsehole, as a parent your first responsibility is to the safety of your child, and hospital births are simply safer. My wife had complications with our second and the doctors were there in moments. Had it been a home birth, she and or our daughter might not have survived. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And our next story comes from Beatrix Kiddo. Am I the arsehole for telling my mother-in-law that her rules for letting us stay in her house are ridiculous? We had a severe plumbing issue occur at our house recently. Insurance will cover it, but the house is virtually uninhabitable until that happens. Our second story bathtub is currently hanging halfway in the kitchen. My husband's mum graciously extended an invitation for her and I and our 2 kids to sleep over at her house for a week or 2 while the repairs are being done. We accepted, and upon arrival, everything was fine. We had a rocky past, but at this point his mother and I are usually pretty cordial. After dinner we put the kids in bed in the pull-out couch in their TV room. She stopped us and said, "If you do that, where will you 2 be sleeping?" And my husband looked at her confused. "In the guest suite?" She looked completely shocked. "Under my roof? Absolutely not. You," talking to my husband, "can have the guest suite, but she sleeps somewhere else." My husband sort of laughed in amazement and said, "You're going to make my wife sleep in the living room where there's a perfectly good queen-size bed for us both." His mum all but shuddered. She said, "Oh my god, why are you even making me think about this? I don't want to think about my son in bed with a woman." We've been married 8 years. At this point, I just started to smother a smile. I seriously could not help it. Her face had gone red as a tomato and she looked so genuinely gobsmacked. She turned to me and snapped, "What's funny here?" I replied, "I'm sorry," followed by her name. She asked again, "What's funny? What's so funny to you? Do you have to act like a child about everything?" So I responded, "This is just all a little ridiculous." She stormed out of the room after giving us both the finger. And fuck, if that didn't make me laugh harder, and went upstairs. She pretty much slammed her bedroom door behind her. That night my husband gave me the guest suite and he slept with our kids on the pull-out sofa. We left and went to my parents the next day, where they had no issue allowing us to share a room. His mother had requested an apology from us both for disrespecting her home, but my husband hasn't responded to that text, and honestly, we don't even know how. Am I the arsehole? The funniest thing that was when that conversation was going on is that there was 2 kids sleeping on the bed. Where the fuck did you think they came from? So this is going to be an absolutely not the arsehole situation. So we'll start straight off with DF Taylor saying, "Not the arsehole. You have 2 kids. Where does she think they came from?" Absolutely. And Omic Writer says, "Not the arsehole. Mother-in-law is bonkers. I would reverse Uno her request for an apology." And Banff says, "Not the arsehole, and wow, your mother-in-law has more issues than National Geographic. Considering that the 2 of you did wind up following her rules and did not wind up sleeping together while under her roof, you did wind up following her rules. As far as I can see, the only things you could have possibly done to disrespect her is that you took the guest suite instead of your husband and then left to stay somewhere else. Basically, you left her control. So no, neither you nor your husband owe her an apology. Besides, it was her who gave you the finger." And Xeeve says, "Not the arsehole. Mother-in-law is seriously creepy in the way she is infantizing her son. You 2 are married and it's totally insane and out of line for her to not allow you to share a bed. Very, very weird behavior on her part. You could apologize for calling her ridiculous, but I would make sure she knew I was specifically apologizing just for the phrasing." And Grimlock Lou says, "I would have answered, how do you think we made your grandkids?" And Duke says, "Wow, you already know you're not the arsehole. What I want to know is what happened or hasn't happened in your mother-in-law's life that would make her act so disgusted at the idea of a husband and wife sharing a bed. Why isn't your husband's father in the picture?" And Nene says, "Not the arsehole. You guys have been married for 8 years and have kids. Does she think they are from immaculate conception?" Now, I turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Over Needleworker. Am I the arsehole for telling my mum I'd make her homeless if she didn't leave my wife alone? I, 27 male, have had my mother, 48 female, living in my house since September 2020. My wife, 27 female, gave birth 2 months ago to my son. Ever since my wife and I got married, my mother would make snide remarks at my wife. I was too much of a coward to call it out at first, but I believed for a while that it had officially stopped, besides the unnecessary comment here and there. ETA, I stand up for my wife all the time. It's just that for the first year and a half of our relationship, I'd cower away. I was afraid to lose my family, but the only family I needed was my wife. My wife and I had a very busy schedule, so even though we lived together and we are married, we rarely saw each other. She loved her job, but I made the selfish decision to ask her to leave it. She was hesitant but agreed to it. She still makes money from her small business, but she obviously is now a stay-at-home. ETA mutually agreed. She is very happy. My mother ended up losing her home a couple of months back. I live the closest and have the biggest home, 10 bedroom, so she came to us. My mother keeps making comments like, she needs a job, she's gonna drain you of money. My wife would also come up to me and tell me to not say anything to my mother, that my mother needs somewhere to stay, and that she, my wife, can handle it. I've been in online conferences for the last 2 weeks, so I haven't had much time to spend with my son. For the past 3 days, I haven't added any calls or work to do. I've been telling my wife to stay in bed and rest so I can look after our son. Yesterday, my wife was asleep in bed when my mother started screaming through our bedroom door, banging on it, calling my wife every name under the sun. When I ran into the corridor, she was screaming like a lunatic. My dogs, Blue Bay Shepherd and Siberian Husky, obviously got very defensive and backed her into a corner. I got in my bedroom and my wife was in the corner of the room crying with her head down. She was terrified. I ran to my mother and said I'm going to kick her old ass to the curb. She wailed that I couldn't do that, but I screamed at her and told her remember whose house she was in. She started to cry and I told her to pack up and get out by tomorrow. She started screaming saying she had nowhere to go. I said that she could stay, but if she even looked her wife's direction, I'd kick her out onto the street. Now my siblings are saying I'm the arsehole and that I was too aggressive. I say that's total BS because how else was I supposed to react to seeing my wife terrified and scared in a corner? I told them to take her, but they say they don't want her stressing them out. The only reason I think I might be the arsehole is because she seemed to be scared when I yelled at her. That, and because my wife is saying that she doesn't want my family to be mad at her, but I don't care. Now my mother is telling everyone my wife ganged up on her. The only reason I haven't dragged her out yet is because my wife says not to. Am I the arsehole? And there's a tiny little paragraph update which we will cover after the comments on this one. And we're going to start immediately with Correct saying, not the arsehole, your siblings are hypocrites. They don't want their mum to live with them because she would stress them out, but are totally okay with her stressing you and your wife. And Stoke King says, not the arsehole, and quotes, I got into my bedroom and my wife was in the corner of the room crying with her head down. She was terrified. And then says, if anything, what you did was an underreaction to abuse being hurled at a new mother in her own home. And Chew My Fudge says, not the arsehole, she's projecting. You could suck it up all you want, it's up to you, but when anybody, be it mother, dad, the freaking pope, badmouths your wife, your spine needs to shine. Period. Letting her disrespect your wife only shows that you're okay with it and don't respect your wife either. Your wife is a legend to put up with that for as long as she did, and you're too blind to even see it. Tell the arsehole siblings that you'll relay the message to mother that they're happy to take her in. Let them deal with her attitude instead. And Buggers says, not the arsehole, that's a lot of stress for a new mum of a 2-month-old. I was a mess during that time from postpartum depression, and if I had someone yelling at me and nagging my every move, I would have lost it. And then quotes, I told them to take her, but they say they don't want her stressing them out, and then says, there's justification for your decision right there. And then the mini update says, she went for a walk, so I grabbed her stuff, threw it in a suitcase and put it outside. My wife is currently cuddling with our son in bed. Told my brother that if he doesn't get her, she'd be spending the night outside of our padlock secured gate. With a smiley face. My wife has no idea. Jesus. Now I turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Suck Out Champ. Am I the arsehole for not giving my brother half of my business? My brother, I'll call him Bro, had this great idea for a company. Bro had no money and honestly is lazy, but he's creative. I fronted half the startup money from my savings, where I was saving to buy a house. Our father, I'll call him Dad, invested the other half with the idea that the company would pay him back within 5 years. Fast forward 2 years and the business is struggling. Mainly because we had to hire someone else to work because my brother didn't do anything, just sat at a desk and goofed around on the internet. Company was about to go under when I told him that. He told me he'd sell me his half for $10,000. I take him up on it because honestly, I can save more than that by not paying him a salary for doing nothing. Now, 5 years later, my company has made the first million annual net profit, and I now have 5 employees and have long since paid Dad back with interest. When I told Dad about the milestone, he told Bro he'd moved to Colorado with some friends with the money I'd given him for his half. They moved there because marijuana was legal. He called me saying that half the company should be his because it was his idea. I reminded him that he sold me his half and that was a success only because I put everything I had into it to make it a success, and I didn't owe him anything and couldn't even afford to hire him since he never actually did any work, which is true, margins are slim, especially right now. Bro called Dad and Dad is agreeing with him and asked me to make him a partner. I refused and now they are both mad at me. Am I the arsehole? Nah, this is going to be a not the arsehole from me. It says it in the story here itself that he was lazy all the way through, didn't put anything into it, was willing to sell his half of the company, so he is quite happy to do that to begin with for $10,000, which OP did, and now he wants it back because it's making a lot of money, apparently. But one thing that did jump out to me, and I'm not sure if it's a worry or not, because I'm no legal buff or anything like that, but I do wonder, did you have to have something in paper to say that, you signed over $10,000 for his half of the business, and did you go down that route or didn't you? And is there any sort of loopholes that brother could potentially use to get back at him? I don't know. That was just something that was going through my head as well. But Calm Initial says, not the arsehole, make him a partner, lol. Not even if he paid for half the business, as it stands now, Dad. And Zippy Zabu says, not the arsehole, call a lawyer and cover your bases. People will do weird shit for $500,000 company. I hope you got the sale in writing. And Helpless at Everything says, not the arsehole, you bought out your brother's interest. While he was there, he was a drain on resources and by your own admission did no work. As a matter of fact, your business was on the verge of failing. Once you bought him out, you put in the effort, you put in the resources, you put in the time, and you put in the work to make your business successful. Meanwhile, he took himself off to Colorado to smoke marijuana. Look, he sold you his share, hopefully you got it in writing, or legal-like. He doesn't have a claim in the business that you made a success. Also, your father gave you a loan, which you paid back. If you get a loan from the bank, they don't expect a say in who you hire or not. Explain it again to your father and brother, or don't, but don't let them make you feel guilty that you put a lot of work to make your business a success. Congratulations. And now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story is from Woobs. Am I the arsehole for not giving my half-sister any of my inheritance and saying her situation is a result of her choices? My father had me quite late in life, which sadly also meant that I lost him sooner. He wasn't super rich but had some money in his name, so there was a decent inheritance. Of that inheritance, 50% went to my mother and 25% to me and my half-sister each. We both spent the money quite differently. I put half of it in the bank and used the other half as a down payment on a house, allowing me to become a homeowner quite early. My half-sister and her then boyfriend used it on a business idea that didn't work out. Then after they broke up, she used it on another idea that also didn't work out. She also found out she was pregnant after she had already broken up with her boyfriend, but decided to become a single mum. She basically blew all the money in under 5 years. About 1.5 years ago, she started asking me for small loans. First it was for Mona, niece's school supplies, then it was for her car, etc. Anyway, I loaned her about €500 and I never saw any of it back. Recently she asked me for something again and I told her I'm not giving her an extra cent until she gives me back what she borrowed. Anyway, this is when shit hit the fan. She said it's unfair, that she has a child to take care of, that I don't need the money as much and also I'll inherit more once mum dies, because I'm her only child. She said she feels like she should get more of the inheritance because she has Mona. I pretty much laughed at that notion, told her that's ridiculous and that she was being rude about my mum, and told her that her bad finances are a direct result of her bad life choices and she's getting nothing. I said she had no legal claim to anything, true, and I still expect that $500 back. She started crying on the phone, but I just hung up. I might have been harsh, but I feel the situation is entirely of her own doing, and she'd likely blow any money I would give her anyway. Am I the arsehole? You know, we could go down the harsh route and saying everyone sucks here for the way you was harsh towards her, but I don't think you was in this situation. She basically said, oh, you're going to get more money when your mum dies. So yeah, that was a shitty thing to say in itself, so you just gave a bit of it back in my opinion. And you were totally right, you know, she did blow that money on different things and clearly they weren't thought out very well. I know businesses do fail, but she done 2 in a row. She should have maybe just sat back after the first one failed and said, I've still got half my money. What could I do with it, and invest it in a house maybe or something like that may be more beneficial to her life at that time, rather than just trying to go for another business. So not the arsehole in my opinion, but Green Fox Blue Fox says not the arsehole. She made choices and those choices have consequences. Were you a bit harsh? No harsher than she was when she said you'll get more money when your mum dies. She needs to be an example to her daughter and manage her own shit. And Sheebly says, not the arsehole, you both got what you were legally entitled to from the inheritance. It's not your responsibility to bail her out if she's having financial difficulty. And even Speech 570 says, not the arsehole, your sister made her bed and now she has to lie in it. Write off the €500 you'll never get back, but don't loan her any more. And Teacher of Nothing says, not the arsehole, she sounds quite entitled and bratty. You're right to not give her another cent. She mismanaged her money, didn't put any aside, even after she found out she was pregnant. And Free Palpitation says, not the arsehole, you are not your sister's keeper. She made her decisions and you made yours. You both started with equal amounts of money and both used them differently. Her decisions cost her money and yours didn't. Just because she has a child doesn't mean you have to pay for her. She is your niece, not daughter. Your sister made the decision to have her and to be a single parent to her. You again are not the arsehole in this situation. And S-Move says, not the arsehole, you were harsh, but she was incredibly rude to bring up your mum will die. And the entitlement of this woman is astounding. She had exactly the same deal and blew it. Having a kid does not mean she has more right to an inheritance. It's a ridiculous request. I don't know how your relationship with her was/is, but you are not a charity nor an ATM. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories. And if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it massively helps out our channel. And if you want to support the channel further, you absolutely can by clicking that join button down below for YouTube, or clicking the link in the description for Patreon and heading on over there. It all massively helps out our channel, and I can't express that enough. But please never, ever feel any pressure to do so. Please. And just a huge thank you for the time out of your day. And I will see you spicy so-and-sos, in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love. Goodbye.